Hi, this is Joyce Polino Crane. I'm the news director at Westford Cat, and I have the good fortune today, the day after Biden was proclaimed president, of speaking with Gus Bickford, who is the chair of the Massachusetts Democratic Party. Welcome.
Joyce, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Yes, I'm so happy to have caught up with you. How are you feeling today?
Ecstatic. This has been a long time coming. It was at least a 4-day election day, and then for it to finally get over the top with Pennsylvania yesterday, just couldn't be happier for the country. Happier for everybody who we have here today who have been working for this since the day after the inauguration with the Women's March. It just feels good for America.
And what were you doing leading up to the election?
We had, Massachusetts is a great export state. We have so much energy, and because Massachusetts wasn't in question when it came to the presidential race, or actually many of the statewide races, we had a three-pronged strategy. We definitely focused on a lot of races here in the state that were of consequence in the state legislature, state rep, and county. And so we had people helping that out. We were very successful there, flipping 3 seats, losing no seats. We also then had another prong which was purely focused for the majority of the time on Maine and New Hampshire, but as we got closer to the end, we actually, through the campaign, the Biden campaign, picked up Georgia. So we were helping in Georgia, and what I mean by that is we would have many of our phone banks and Zoom calls calling to those 3 states. And then our third prong was a legal team of where we had 3 organizers, coordinating lawyers who were traveling everywhere, and I found out that we had some of the most exports into Florida, Pennsylvania, and Michigan of any of the states. California was extremely competitive, and they actually had to fly people all the way over the country, but we beat them. So really excited to contribute in those ways to make a difference.
That's wonderful. What do you see your role as going forward now?
Just to really move forward, especially for the next 54 days with the elections in Georgia, to make sure that they have all the resources with volunteer hours that they need, to make sure that we prepare when it comes to expressing what this president-elect and vice president-elect want to achieve, which is unity, speaking for all of the citizens of the country, and making sure that we're able to get people behind the executive orders, which we'll do the day after the inauguration. But then, because the Senate looks to be very close, we're going to have to get an upswell of interest and support to make sure that we can get our legislation through the Senate, because likely get it through the House, so that we can achieve what we need to achieve.
Yes. And if you had the opportunity to tell Westford residents something, what would you be telling them right now?
Frankly, it has everything to do with realizing that our democracy works. Because I actually have spoken to a lot of people, not just in Westford, but in Westford and in surrounding towns who, for the first 6 weeks after Donald Trump won 4 years ago, just couldn't understand how, we could actually nominate such a person, and was there a way to stop the inauguration. But we do have a peaceful transition of power. We worked through it. That's when they began to talk about, we didn't have, we ended up, after they began talking about the Women's March, helping them, but, groups got together and said, this is what we need to do. And so we began to help. No one knew what was going to happen that day. I went into the Boston Common. I have never participated in a mass of people like that ever in my life. So we had gone like this, for 8 weeks, and then everybody got uplifted, and that's really what we've been doing for the last 3.5 years. So it's celebrate today, recognize it's going to be a lot of hard work, and we all need to work together, and frankly, love does trump hate, but it takes work.
It does take work, yes. One last question. Kamala Harris is the first woman to be a vice president, an elected vice president. What do you feel about that as a man who's been very
Oh.
active in the Democratic Party all these years.
Oh yeah, and very active, by the way, in actually trying to break down the glass barriers. My first statewide race, I was the field director for Evelyn Murphy when she ran for governor. I was the campaign manager for Rosaria Salerno, who ran for city council and won in Boston. I was in-state targeting director for Hillary Clinton in 2008 for her presidential campaign and traveled to 40 states. So I actually shared with my family a picture of my 3-year-old niece dancing around from something prior, but I was just like, you know, I'm so happy for Kate, and she's not going to know that it's a thing to not have a woman in power. She's going to see this a very strong Kamala Harris being the vice president, and that's all she'll know. And I can't be happier for so many women that, you know, are grandparents and are just figuring out, you know, how to understand news. What it must be for them is just fabulous.
Gus, thank you so much for today.
Sure.
I appreciate it. And we'll get back to, I'm not sure we're calling it a rally, but
It's a celebration.
we'll get back to a celebration on the day after Joe Biden was pronounced.
Thank you for what you do, by the
President.
way. So important.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. We all worked really hard
Yeah.
to bring the news.
You know, people in the news, I hope that they just feel so happy because we'll be back to respecting news again.
Right. Can't wait for that day.
No, neither can I.
For Westford Cat News, I'm Joyce Colino Crane.